a dress, and I'm here today to tell you all about when I went to watch Buffy Revamped at the Theatre Royal in Nottingham. So Buffy Revamped is a 70-minute, one-act, one-man show chronicling the full 7 seasons of the hit TV series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And if that intro alone doesn't make you want to go out and buy a ticket, then I'm not sure we can be friends. I'm only teasing. But seriously, I am a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. And luckily, so is my best friend. So when I saw that a new comedy show thing called Buffy Revamped was coming to the Theatre Royal in Nottingham, which I knew nothing about, I knew it was something that me and my friend were going to have to go and check out. Now, it's a very, very rare occurrence for me to go to the theatre and not know what to expect. But if Buffy Revamped is anything to go by, I really need to take risks more often because this show blew my mind. So the basic premise of the show is this is a very, very abridged retelling of all 7 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is this many episodes. I should know that, shouldn't I? A true Buffy fan would know that. Shame. So this is the retelling of 7 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as told from the perspective of Spike. Don't know who Spike is? You may as well leave. So from the moment I stepped into the theatre and took our seats, I knew I was in for a good time. The music playing, the entrance music, is there a special term for that music? Because I feel like there probably is. But the music that's playing as the audience takes their seats was full 90s nostalgia. I am talking Gwen Stefani, the 10 Things I Hate About You soundtrack. If you can think of a sort of slightly emo-y 90s tune that we were bopping along to, it played, and you could see I was among my people. The audience were clearly having the best time, and it really got those nostalgic juices flowing, which was pretty much a theme of the evening, if I'm honest. So the set, as you come into the theatre, was already all prepared. There was an altar, I think some shelving units, and some storage facilities where lots and lots of different props were kept, some of which eagle-eyed Buffy viewers among you would have spotted as memorabilia, callbacks, props from the show. So there was the cheerleading statue from the witch episode, there was like the tribal zombie mask from that episode Dead Man Walking? Dead something walking? That one. Oh, there was loads of things. But it was fun to play spot the prop as you were sat waiting for the show to start. And then the show did start and you were on a pretty much 70-minute wild joyride of laughter, hijinks, and general just silliness. It was like nothing I have ever seen before. I was very impressed. So Buffy Revamped was written and performed by Brendan Murphy, a name that I have not heard up until recently, but is a name I assure you I will never ever forget because this man is a freaking genius. Apparently he's also done a show called Friends, the one with Gunther, which is the same sort of thing but for the TV series Friends, which incidentally happens to also be one of my favourite 90s TV series from when I was a kid. What I want to know is this a spooky coincidence or is there a weird freaky Venn diagram of Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans and Friends fans that merges in the middle into one giant 90s TV love fest? Because if it is, and there are more of us out there, then please make yourself known to me. This is a safe space. So I'm going to be really, really careful as I do this review not to give too many spoilers to how the show is done. Because I think one of the fun things about the show is you just never know what's going to happen next. From the second that Spike comes on stage, and it is a grand entrance as only Spike could make, you just are constantly clinging to the edge of your seats, waiting to see what's about to happen next. What is he going to do? What is he going to say? What special effects are they going to be? What sound things? It's just this huge treasure chest of theatrical fun that I would not want to spoil for anybody, so I'm going to let you discover all of the secrets for yourself. But what I will say is having Spike be the centre of this story is an absolutely perfect decision. Spike is, after all, the best character in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer universe. That is not my opinion, that is fact, ask anybody. And Spike's sardonic, irreverent, disrespectful humour really works with this kind of theatre because you are simultaneously honouring and mocking the TV series that we all know and love And Spike does that so well. After all, he spent most of the series pissed off that this ridiculous group of children kept foiling his mastermind plans, which he, as this like centuries-old vampire, couldn't get one over of them. So it really, really works having him tell this story and just be constantly taking the piss, having little asides, little in-jokes. It just works so well, and it was an inspired decision. It really helped to provide this framework for the whole show and tie the whole thing together, and just really helped eke out every single comedy moment available. Perfection. I will say that I was incredibly impressed with how Brendan Murphy managed to continually come up with fresh and original ideas for how to portray this story to the audience. So each season of the show is depicted in a slightly different way. So nothing gets familiar, nothing gets samey, nothing gets boring. You do not have time to get bored because you get whiplash from how quickly you've changed from one skit to another. And I thought that was really, really clever. And some of the different skits were really, really just inventive and clever and really tied into the Buffy the Vampire Slayer universe. This guy knew his audience, he knew who he was speaking to, and he played into that so perfectly. I laughed so hard at most of this show that genuinely I had stitch when I left the theatre. I couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny, and everybody in the room was exactly the same. It was a joy to be sat in that audience. The script itself, which I have no idea how he memorises this much content in this short space of a time and manages to get it all out without forgetting his lines or rolling over things or fluffing anything. It was just a work of art. But this script is full of witty one-liners and gags and inside jokes and 90s nostalgia kicks. It was just a masterpiece of theatre, of comedy theatre in particular, but just generally how it was all put together and structured was so slick and so precise. I can only imagine what the writing process must have been deciding what was going to go in and what wasn't. I think my favourite thing about the whole show, aside from the fact that Brendan Murphy literally never stops moving for even a second while he is on stage. He is on the go constantly with physical comedy and witty one-liners and audience interaction. It's just constant. But aside from all that is how this show manages to go so far beyond being just an homage or a parody to one particular TV series, but instead it transcended all of that and it became this ode to the 90s in general. Like, it was a complete nostalgia fest from beginning to end. And if, like me, you're a product of the 90s, it's just the best thing ever. There were so many pop culture references, musical references. Just blink and you will have missed something. There was a reference to, I kid you not, Clarissa Explains It All. A callback so freaking niche that I'm sure there was at least 60% of the audience who didn't have a clue what was going on. But I did, and for those of us who did get it, it was so freaking funny. Clarissa Explains It All. Who remembers that? Melissa Joan Hart. Just pure 90s gold. I was living my best life, and I know I wasn't the only one because you could see it on the faces of every single person in that audience. And I tip my hat to whoever came up with that idea. So it's worth mentioning that this is definitely a show aimed at adults. From the moment Spike steps on stage, it is sweary. There is swearing, there are blue jokes, there is adult humour. It's funny and it's harmless, but it's there. So if you are somebody who's particularly sensitive to kids, being around that sort of content, then this isn't for you. Having said all of that, my kids have both seen the entirety of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they're used to watching telly that is a little bit close to the knuckle, stuff that does have bad language, does have sort of like rude innuendo and jokes, and there is nothing in here that I would be worried about them seeing. There is nothing that is going to traumatise them or damage their poor innocent little brains, and I would absolutely let them watch this, and I know they would love it if they saw it. Buffy Revamped is by far the funniest thing that I have seen on stage in an incredibly long time. I just couldn't stop laughing. And I know from reading Twitter and Instagram and all the rest of it, from other people who've been to see this show while it's on tour, that everybody thinks the same. If you're a Buffy fan, if you are a 90s fan, this show is definitely for you. And if all of that wasn't enough to convince you that this show is worth going to see, I came home from the theatre that evening and raved about this show so hard to my husband that he suggested that we book tickets to go and see the show again for myself, him, and our children at a later point in the tour, which we are doing, so we're going to watch it again. That's how good it is. Even after seeing it all once, even knowing what's going to happen, I really want to watch this show again. My god, I've nearly forgot the merch. Yes, there was merch, and yes, I bought it, obviously, because I have impulse control issues, much to my friends' amusement, watching me purchase stuff that I really didn't need. So first up, I had seen people walking around the theatre with this bag here. It's got like all of the character names on it, and I was like, Faith, I want one, Faith, I want one, Faith, I want one, Faith, I want one. And she was like, you're gonna buy a bag, aren't you? I was like, I am going to buy a bag. So I brought the bag, but what I did not know was the bag came in a lovely bundle. You could buy it individually, but it also came in a lovely bundle with the show brochure. Basically just a programme, but obviously there's no cast and there's no set list. So it basically is just a little Buffy joke and general knowledge thing. It really made me smile. It's quite funny and it's quite an amusing way to kill the 15 minutes before the show starts when you sat in your seat. So I can recommend that. Along with that and the bag, for the grand total of £20 altogether, you also got this mug, which says Angel Sucks Spike Rules. And I had to have it. I didn't need a new mug. I really didn't need a new mug. But this little baby had to come home with me, so it did. And I regret nothing. So in conclusion, Buffy Revamped gets a massive thumbs up from me. I don't really do star ratings, mainly because I'd probably give everything 5 stars. But if I could give star ratings, this would get all the stars. It would have all of them, as many as I could give. This is pure 90s Buffy nostalgic perfection, and anybody who likes Buffy the Vampire Slayer or the 90s, or generally just likes to laugh, needs to go and watch this show. It is touring around the UK and I believe Australia, bizarrely, in the next few months, so get online, find a ticket and go and watch it for yourself, and thank me later. If you've managed to stick around all the way to the end, then God bless your soul. Thank you. If theatre reviews are your jam and you think I should do more of them, and you would find them helpful, useful, interesting, etc, etc, please leave me a comment below and let me know. Also, if you've seen this show, let me know, how good did you think it was, seriously. I have got a few theatrical trips planned for the rest of the year, and I want to know if I should do more of these videos because it's just something a bit different for me and it is a big part of my life. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.